Good evening, everyone. That was such a fascinating discussion by Hemant and Tanuj on building population scale in India. And Rafee, it's surreal. I mean, both of us, I think, are based in Bangalore, but we ended up meeting
in Delhi, yeah.
in Gurgaon. I want to start with, something interesting that Infosys chairman and co-founder Nandan Nilekani said last week at an event. He said that India is not going to join the arms race for LLMs, but we will emerge as the AI use case capital of the world. Take us through, your own sense of how India will play the AI game, and then maybe we can come to IT and jobs and, code generators and so on.
Oh, sure. I think, if you look at the potential of AI for India, I think is unlimited. But then we have to get a lot of things right. And in my mind, there are 4 aspects that are very critical. First is talent. If you look at the latest Stanford AI report that came a few weeks back, I think it said that India has some of the highest skill penetration in AI in terms of the IT skills. And also the growth of talent in AI has been significant, which means we have the talent that is required that can be used to build a lot of specialized models. And we believe that, the need is to have more specialized models and smaller models that can be used to solve business problems in an economical way. The second is competence also. So if you look at the number of projects that were contributed in GitHub for AI, I think India is one of the largest contributors to the projects. This also indicates that the amount of work that we are doing in AI, especially in open source space, is increasing significantly. And then if you also look at, the capital investments that have gone significantly in India over the last few years, and the innovations with Bhashini and what a lot of startups are doing in India is significant. So a combination of all of these, the talent, the competence, and the capital will essentially help us drive a lot of innovation. But I think we have to pick the right problems and problems that are very relevant for businesses, problems that can be solved in an economical and viable manner, and which are very contextual to India and to the globe, right? And that's where I think we'll have a significant role, and that's where a lot of these use cases will come in.
Right. I also wanted to ask you about something that I read yesterday, and I think this was a study by McKinsey, where they said that, when it comes to proof of concept projects, there is a lot of traction, but somehow those POCs are not able to scale when it comes to, some of the projects taken up by enterprises. Now, Infosys, TCS, Accenture, all of them have been talking about POCs in GenAI in the last year. But how much of this is actually, scaling to large projects? Is it still in the POC stage? Do you see a gap there?
Yeah. No, I think, at least among a lot of clients that we work today, what we are seeing is the last year was mostly about POCs. So 2023 was mostly about experimenting, kicking the tires, understanding what GenAI can do. But this year, we are already starting to see a lot of them scale in production. So one of our clients actually has launched an equivalent of GPT for their employees across the bank. And they have rolled it out to all 20,000 employees who are using this. There is one of our other customers who is today providing this as an advisory assistant to all their wealth advisors. And again, this is being used by thousands of users. So we are now seeing this year, at least in the last 6 months, I think there is a shift that has happened where a lot of progressive enterprises, they have started moving from POCs to large-scale productions. But then there are a lot of followers, organizations that have still not started experimenting or are not doing it in a very strategic way. They are still lagging behind. But we can see that the shift has started happening now.
Right. I also wanted to understand from you, Rafee, you said you're seeing this shift happening. Again, if you can give us a sense of, are you seeing more GenAI projects or existing POC scaling? How is this translating to revenues for you?
Yeah. So I think, I won't be able to comment on revenues as such.
You're not in your silent period, as far as I know.
No, that's right. But I think, See, what we are seeing today is the GenAI projects that a lot of our clients today were doing, right? So we are finding them that they are doing in about 8 broad areas. And a lot of value that is coming today in the first wave came largely with productivity, it came with efficiency. But now we are starting to see a lot of new use cases come up where we are seeing value from a new growth, new revenue, and improved customer experience. So if you look at the different areas where we are seeing, for example, we are seeing a lot of Gen AI application in customer service. So a lot of our clients are actually using Gen AI to enable customers to resolve issues by themselves, so that the number of drop-offs that happen to contact center can reduce, and they can address customer issues in a more effective manner. We are finding that a lot of our customers are actually using this to enable their employees to service customer need better. And there we are seeing that the NPS score has started to increase for some of them who have done very well. The second area is in business process optimization. So I'll take an example. You look at the credit review process in a bank, where they have to review the loans that they have given every year. Now this is a very exhaustive process which takes about 3 to 4 weeks, because they have to get about 150 different data points. Now what we saw is when you use a combination of classical and generative AI, you could pre-calculate a lot of the value information and do analysis. And what this can do is it can shrink the time from 3 to 4 weeks to about 3 to 4 days. Now what this means is then, the relationship managers and the risk assessors are now spending more time focusing on customers, right? So the processes are getting more simplified, and we are finding a lot of value that the employees are getting, because then they are able to spend time on customers. Software engineering obviously is a big area where, be it in coding, testing, we are finding that using a lot of Gen AI, you can deliver significant productivity. And this is not only used for new development, we are also finding it applicable for mainframe organizations. We are finding it for a lot of migration from one platform to other. And then we are also finding it in sales and marketing, because sales and marketing is one area where a lot of our customers are global. And they need to develop content that can be rolled out across multiple countries. So here again, the usage of Gen AI is enabling them to become more responsive and more agile. So I think if you look at it, a number of these use cases are coming. And in India, we also use this in the taxation platforms, to drive and identify a lot of revenue leakages. So I think you are seeing that the values are increasing, the projects are increasing, and the areas that it is applying is also increasing.
Right, which brings me to the title of this session: Will AI eat IT's lunch? As the CTO of Infosys, what would your take be?
No, I think AI will amplify IT's lunch. Let me put it this way.
That's a good headline. AI will amplify IT's lunch.
Because I think we honestly believe, this is not the first time a technology is automating something. We have seen waves of automation happen right from 3GL, 4GL, model-driven architecture, and then you had RPA era, and now we are into AI era. I think the key is, are you ahead of the game? Are you using the technology in order to drive a lot of automation and reimagining? And if you do, then it will definitely amplify.
Right. In fact, which brings me to my next point. I think in the latest earnings call and results, Infosys CEO Salil Parekh said that the company had generated 3 million lines of code using LLMs, which is an industry-leading figure. Can you take us through this? What does this mean? Again, are you generating more lines of code using LLMs than engineers? Take us through how that has changed.
Yes, today if you look at it, we are one of the largest worldwide users of code assistants in the world. And a lot of these 3 million lines of code actually came for a lot of new development that we were doing in 5 languages. It is Java, .NET, Python, Golang, and in JavaScript. Now what we do is, for a lot of software engineering, we use a commercially available code assistant, as well as at Infosys we have built our own specialized code assistants. Because what we found is that when you want to use it on existing applications and technologies, the general code assistants are not that effective. So we use a combinatorial strategy of specialized assistants in general. Now these 3 million lines of code largely have been used for a lot of our internal development, for a lot of internal platforms that we do for different clients. And the interesting thing today is also our code acceptance rate is close to about 60%, which means if 100 lines of code are generated, 60 lines are accepted by the developers. And what we are finding now with this is that we are able to drive velocity in software engineering, velocity in the release of products and platforms that we are building.
So engineers are sort of using it as a co-pilot to hasten the pace of developing the
Yes,
code.
so they are using it today for coding. In coding, they are using it. So they are using it in testing, and they are also using it in support and operations.
Great. The other data point, Rafee, that I wanted to ask you to comment on is that Infosys has trained over 250,000 employees in GenAI. I think this was a statistic that you released. What does this mean? When you say you've trained 250,000 employees on GenAI, is it one Coursera course that they attended or some Udemy course that they completed? What does this entail, and what skills do they have now which they didn't have before?
Sure. See, at Infosys, when we started our own AI transformation journey about 2 years back, we recognized that this will become a general purpose technology, which means irrespective of your role, you could be in finance, you could be in HR, you could be in legal, or you could be in sales and marketing, or you could be in engineering. Either ways, your ways of working will get influenced by AI. And if that is going to happen, then we said we need to enable all our employees in order to become comfortable in using a lot of these AI technologies. So what we did is we created a 3-tiered enablement plan. The first, we said everybody in the company has to become AI aware. What this means is they need to understand what are the generative AI technologies, what is hype, what is real, how to do prompt engineering, how to write right prompts. So that's something that we rolled out as a course for everybody. We have our own learning platform called Lex, that we use it for customers as well as for social good. So we created this learning path in our Lex platform. So this is an inbuilt program that we did, and then we have rolled it out to all of them. So these 250,000 employees today have gone through this GenAI aware course, which means today, if let's say they need to use any of these LLMs in their regular work, then they are able to use it using prompt engineering techniques, right? The second is they are today also comfortable in using a number of different AI tools. It could be a co-pilot, it could be any of the other products from different cloud providers or AI providers, and they know how to use it to do their work better. The second tier that we are doing is what we call as AI builders. Because we have a large number of engineers, we said if AI becomes a general purpose technology, then everybody should know how to use LLM in their different applications. And the way we are looking at is today, in future, going forward, every application will have LLMs embedded into it. Now, if LLM gets embedded, then they need to know how to integrate and use it. And that's a program that we are running for AI builders. And the last is AI masters. So these are real deep experts who can build a LLM grounds up, or who can create fine-tuned models, or who can optimize for different hardwares. And so these were the experts who will then build the new class of AI solutions for our global customers.
Right. Rafee, in the previous session, Hemant used this example of, a water bottle being caught between two individuals, and can we picture a world where it will happen between two robots who will know exactly what to do, where to stand, how to return it, complete all those calculations in their mind. I want to ask you, do you picture a world where we will not have call centers manned by people anymore? Because we've had some groundbreaking releases this week, right? I mean, OpenAI released GPT-4 Omni. You had Google releasing a very advanced version of its chat assistant. What does this mean for the future of customer care, for the future of call centers? What will it do to that industry? How will it upend that industry?
Yeah. No, see, today what we're already seeing is the usage of these LLMs, including GPT-4o and earlier with the GPT-4 as well as other models. We were already seeing that this can be used to augment the customer service employees, right? So it could be in contact center for language, or it could be in contact center to become more responsive to customers. So we were seeing that the technology can be used for them to become more productive, more efficient. Now, as this technology improves further, what we think is some of the tasks will get automated, but then they will start focusing on value creative tasks. Which means, see, today in a contact center, when a customer comes and raises a problem, you listen to a problem, you try and solve. Now, if some of these can be done, at least the query resolution is done automatically, then I can start looking at why are these problems coming? What is the root cause of it? How do I use this to improve my product? How do I drive better value to customers? So I think slowly the shift will happen where they will start focusing on more value creative work rather than the regular work which slowly will get automated through AI.
Right. In fact, Rafee, we spoke to Mr. Narayan Murthy earlier this week, and he gave the example of case tools that were a huge rage in the 70s, computer assistant engineering tools. And many people felt like, it would spell the death knell for software development, but that did not happen because people just moved on to more complex problems. Do you think something similar will happen?
Yeah, and we are already seeing this because now what we are finding is if through the automation that is coming through GenAI, if a lot of my code generation happens, then I can start focusing more on how do I improve the product, how do I build better solutions. So I think the same will happen. And also the advantage now is that I can do it at a much faster pace than what I could before.
Right. One trend that we've noticed in the last year among IT companies, whether it's TCS, Infosys, Wipro, etc., is, this is the year when we've seen a massive decline in headcount. Now, on the face of it, people say that this is because these companies overhired during the COVID years. There was some lax in the system. They're making up for it. They are improving the utilization. Therefore, they did not feel the need to hire more people. But how much of this is also because of artificial intelligence? Are we beginning to see it impacting headcount? And this is going to be important because the Indian IT sector historically has been the biggest private sector employer in India with 5 million people, over 5 million people. How will this upset those calculations? Because there are millions of engineering graduates, coming out every year. This time, even the placements haven't been very good at some of the top colleges. Are you already seeing this impact hiring to some extent?
No, see, at least from our perspective, I can say from Infosys standpoint, we are largely looking at using this to move up the value chain on how we can use this to deliver more value. And we are definitely hiring. So at least for a lot of specialized roles that I do for power programmers and all, we definitely are going and hiring in the market as well. But we are looking at this as an opportunity to move up the value chain than anything else.
Do you think AI can replace coders?
In my view, at least from what I have seen so far, I think it will help coders become more efficient and productive. I don't see them going away at this point.
Right. Is it also a good time for Infosys to look at acquisitions in AI, acquire some of the new skills that are coming in the market? Because everything can't be developed in-house. Are you looking at those opportunities as well?
Yeah, we are constantly looking for such opportunities, and then in a lot of acquisitions that we are doing. So we either do acquisitions, and some of them we have done in last 2 quarters, as well as in partnerships. So using a combination of the acquisitions we have done, partnerships, and the startups we are curating through the Infosys Innovation Network. We are building an ecosystem where a lot of these outside-in innovations can come in.
Right. I think we have final couple of minutes. Rafee, what would your advice be to, the batch of 2024, 2025, perhaps an engineering student in his or her 3rd year, 4th year, who's coming into the job market? what does a company like Infosys expect today versus say a year ago, 2 years ago? Because then, you would hire people, you would train them for 3 months, 6 months, deploy them. Is that model going to change?
No, I think even now when we are hiring some of the engineers now, we would continue to take them through the training, because training is not just for the technical skills, right? So training is also for cultural fitment. Training is also to make sure that they understand the process, the larger operating model in which they would operate. So my first message for anybody who's coming out is, because they are going to graduate in an AI era, I think they have to become very comfortable in, one, understanding the power of AI and also using AI. Because what we see is you can have consumers of AI on one hand and you will have creators of AI. So those who are coming from a let's say, software engineering background, they should focus on becoming better consumers of AI. Because if they can use a lot of AI tools and become very proficient, then they can be much more productive and they can add a lot more value. And the other end, those who are coming from a lot of deep engineering background, they should focus on becoming creators of AI. This could be like fine-tuning models, this could be like different techniques that they are doing, and on building these AI-led solutions using existing open source models or cloud-based models. So if they can focus on how do we create these solutions, I think then they will become a lot more relevant for the industries. And then, we could find people both on creation as well as on consumption side who can be very meaningful for most of the organizations.
That's a very interesting insight, Rafee, that, you'll have people on the creation side and the consumption side, which brings me to my next question. Has your consumption of AI tools significantly gone up in the last 1 or 2 years? In what areas of your, daily routines or work do you find yourself using AI? Do you have some favorite AI apps? Perhaps, favorite AI go-to chatbots that you use?
No, in the last 18 months, we have rolled out a significant number of generative AI solutions internally within Infosys. So today, if you look at our learning platform, the learning platform is fully GenAI enabled. So for example, today on ChatGPT, if you ask a question, it gives you an answer. Now for somebody who is learning, we don't want it to give an answer, right? So we want it to take through a reasoning cycle and help arrive at the answer. So what we have done is, in learning platform, we have created a lot of innovative learning techniques using large language models called Socrative learning, where you reason it out and find. Analogy-based learning, where it gives you examples to do it. Adaptive learning. So the learning part, which is one of the big things for us, is now fully GenAI enabled. What we have also done is, for all our developers, we have given them a choice of different code assistants. And we have made it poly AI, which means they can pick any model that they want. And they can use whatever model is best fit, and they can do the task. Now, because we are a global organization, what happens a lot of times is finding information is difficult. So let's say if somebody wants to find out where have we done a quantum computing project. Now that becomes a challenge. So for that, we have launched a sales assistant for most of our client-facing team members, who can now go and find information about the work that Infosys has done. And now the entire information that we have collated over 4 decades is available to them at their fingertips.
Right.
But then if you look at campus, in our Bangalore campus, we also have autonomous golf cart, which we are continuing to invest to move people from one side to other. We are also a carbon neutral company, so we are using AI in order to predict generation of energy. We are using AI to optimize energy consumption, because we have our own big solar power plant. And each of our campuses, we are seeing how do we use it. So in a way, today, it has become part of our ways of working, be it in the workforce, workplace, or in our work that we do.
Right. Final question, Rafee. Infosys was also one of the early investors or backers of OpenAI when it was a non-profit. Has that benefited you in terms of, getting an inside track of some of their new releases, new technologies? How has that investment benefited you? Granted, it was done when they were a non-profit.
Yeah. No, I think initially when we were part of the founding members and we invested. So at that time, we had very close collaboration. And we had very early access to the developments that they were doing. So one of the financial services institutes that was one of the largest enterprise users of OpenAI, and this was even before ChatGPT was launched. So that is an area where, in fact, Infosys actually partnered along with OpenAI and our customer in order to build a solution, and then ChatGPT came, and then a lot of it moved forward. But we continued collaborating, and then we have leveraged a lot of that knowledge, and that has helped accelerate the progress that we have done in the last 2 years as well.
Great. On that note, thank you very much for talking to us, and it's good to note that AI will not eat IT's lunch, but in fact amplify it. On that note, thank you very much. A huge round of applause for Rafee Tarafdar, the Chief Technology Officer of Infosys, and also like to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Krishnan, the Secretary of MeitY, to our event. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rafee.
Thanks.